Scott from Hydra. This video is going to walk you through the steps necessary to convert your ink over from the OEM ink over to our KK ink. We have a bulk ink system wired into two AVs, one on each side of the dryer. This system is about 5.5 years old. It's been running Kornit ink the entire time. So really basic. I'm just going to do one of the buckets here, and then you would just follow the steps for the other four. Basically, have a spare 5-gallon bucket on hand. You remove the lid from the white bucket, which has the top draw system on it. For those of you who don't know, the top draw system will float inside the bucket on the level of ink, drawing 2-3 inches from the surface, letting all the heavy sediment and sludge fall to the bottom, so it's never introduced to your Kornit printheads. Just set that down. You're going to get a little bit messy doing this. Easiest thing to do, you are going to be dumping out whatever ink you're leaving, but just for the sake of not dumping all their ink out, and I can show you what's in the bottom at the same time, pour the white ink into a spare bucket. Then you can come over, bring the camera over I should say, and you'll see the sludge that falls to the bottom. The whole concept behind the top draw system for the white is to leave that sludge out of the system, shut off your recirculating pumps, let all the heavy stuff fall to the bottom. Obviously it still produces a really nice white print. I think we have 30-35 of these systems in the field right now, and they're working really well. Just a quick walk around the system. These are all the individual relays. These are the ink pumps, so after 5.5 years, they've only had to replace 3 ink pumps. They're $10 a piece. Just a really nice addition. Even if you're looking at staying with the Kornit ink sets, this eliminates the need for the RFID system on press, which saves you time, saves you productions. Your operators don't have to switch out bottles 2 or 3 times a day. So aside from being necessary on an RFID printer to switch inks, it's also a good time saver. When you're removing the lids from the CMYK buckets, all you really have to do is just grab a rag, wipe down the plated draw tubes. I usually just set it upside down, have a clean bucket ready to go. So basically get rid of that ink or clean that bucket out, refill it with the KK ink, put your lid back on, do it for CMYK in white, and then we're on to the next step. Okay, one of the next steps in converting over to KK ink on an AVK. We recommend coming down and replacing the filters. This is normally where the connection is made from the ink bottle to the lines that go up and feed the secondary ink tanks. You can see we've already replaced the ink filters, which was a messy job. The stock OEM filters have a tendency to leak because they're modular, they're screwed together. They're also rather expensive, and they're 20 micron or 25 micron. So we recommend replacing them with these oblong filters. They're 5 micron filters. They're $9 or $10 a piece off of the Hydra Ink website. They're really easy to replace. They use a lure lock fitting, so you can see right here it unscrews. Screw it back on. The lure lock has a barbed connection inside of the 6mm ink line. Lure locks are used all over the medical industry for IVs and are really reliable. Not to mention, it's 4 times finer the filtration that you're going to be getting from the stock filter. So they're about 1/4 of the price. So we just went and put all new filters on. This particular customer is leaving the Kornit ink bottles sit in the slots here, which satisfies the RFID tag against the antenna. So they just sit in there like that. And our bulk system bypasses all of this. So up to the next step. Next step, I'm going to launch the Kornit software. Something worth mentioning while we're waiting for this to start up. All of these newer printers have an RFID system, which is a radio frequency ID. They put these tags on the bottles, and they read and write data from these tags to control running aftermarket inks. To date, we have not had a problem with any of our systems integrating with the Kornit machines. So if you have any particular questions on whether or not your machine can and will work with our systems, just feel free to give us an email and we can hop on a call and talk you through it. As the Kornit machine starts up, again, we are not flushing the system. We are pushing the KK ink right behind the OEM inks, and we'll walk around to the side here and I'll show you part of the process. Okay. These lines coming down into the top of the degassing membranes are coming right from the bulk system through the into the secondary ink tanks, out through the filters, and then down towards your heads. What we're looking to do is basically run these 6 tanks low but not empty, and then refill, and then we're going to purge through the heads, and then again through the manual purge valve on the other side, which we will get to. You are going to have a little bit of crossover of old ink and new ink. It's really not a problem for the white, but realistically we'd like to get as much of the CMYK out as possible without draining the ink out of these tanks. So these tanks are probably the original. Some of the newer tanks are clear acrylic. You can see the ink level inside, which is helpful. But we'll give you the settings to purge down nice and low. Then we refill. So we basically have to go from the bulk system, which is 15 feet away. We have to empty all of the existing ink out of these lines, get it into the tanks, purge it out, either the head or the valve, and then refill with our ink. So that takes 1.5 to 2 liters of each color. So we'll go through CMYK and white. There's 6 colors there, say 2 liters, so 12 liters total to get the ink moved out. We do not suggest flushing. We would suggest, if you want to take the time to open up your secondary ink tanks and clean them out or replace them, and then same thing with the filters, replace all the filters at the same time. We don't flush because there's so much sediment stuck in this system. Any place there's a horizontal line, especially on the whites, you're going to have pigment buildup. It's going to be in your degassing membrane, it's going to be in your secondary ink tanks, it's going to be in the filters, it's going to be in these horizontal crossover tubes on the head that supply the other side of the head with ink and the purge valve. So flushing these systems, even if you're flushing it and going right back to Kornit ink, you're going to have problems when you flush because all of that gets broken loose and then pushed towards the heads, and we just want to avoid that as much as possible. So spend a little bit more time flushing ink through, but we do it slowly, we do it gently, and the conversion process shouldn't take you more than 60 or 90 minutes total. So we'll get started. Okay, in this step, we are going to be purging the KK ink through the manual purge valves. You'll have to do it on each module, so you have 24 modules that you move the ink through. Basically, as long as you have one-way valves, these white things on the end of your purge valve line, you can just open up all 4 yellows, and I prefer to do CMYK and white one at a time. So do your black, do your magenta, do your cyan, then do your yellows. It just works out well to have a little tray in here to hold it. So we open these up, set your purge time for 30 deciseconds. I will probably purge 10-12 times at 30 deciseconds through the manual purge valve. I like to move the majority of the ink through the purge valve versus down through the head. It's quicker. You run a better chance of not pushing anything into the print head if something does break loose. So bring it out the purge valve. In between each 30 decisecond purge, make sure that you stop and allow the pumps to refill these secondary ink tanks so you're not introducing air. After 10 or 12 30 decisecond purges, close these back up like so. And then you'll want to do the rest of what we're trying to push is 2 liters through each one of the heads. 1 or 2 liters through each color. So just mark the amount of ink that you're consuming on the side of the bulk system reservoir, and after you're done 10 or 12 times through here, do the balance through the heads, then the ink is in the system and we're almost done. Okay, on to the purging process. What we are going to do is change your purge time to 30 deciseconds, which is 3 seconds. I prefer to do this just one color at a time. So we will start with yellow, and going to purge multiple times to get the ink removed from the system. So I prefer to purge 3 times at 30 deciseconds. We will let the pumps refill, and then go on and do cyan, magenta, yellow, black, do all those, do white 1 and white 2. After you purge 3 times at 30 deciseconds through the heads, we're going to go in, and we'll show you in the next step, open up the manual purge valves, do the same thing through there as well. What we're looking to do is purge 2 liters of each color through the entire system. One easy way to verify that you have all of this done correctly is print a t-shirt on either palette with a known design, so something that you're familiar with and how it should look. As soon as the white ink lays down, if you've successfully introduced the KK white ink and you've not adjusted the ink levels, the ink should be bleeding all over, printing running outside of the image area. That's the telltale sign that our ink is successfully moved into the print heads. From that point, we can check the CMYK. As long as your CMYK is printing correctly without any massive color shifts, because we've already installed the lookup tables, you're all done. Well, I should say you're done with that step. The next step, after you've finished all of your purging, is to, let's see, we're going to come into the setup database, and we're going to take all of your popular setups, which goes back out here, and we'll show you how many setups this particular company runs. There has to be somewhere around 3 or 4 dozen in here. It's a little time consuming, but it's necessary. Nothing on the left hand side of your setup screen needs to change. The only thing that we're going to be looking at here is the white highlight, the white under light color, and the white under dark color. Because our KK white ink needs less printed down to achieve a better white base, these numbers here, the 75, 30, 30, which is just what they happen to use, those should be cut down 30 to 40%. You only have to do this once. We'll come to T85, which is a popular setting, 75, 40, 40. So for instance, the settings that I would start with on here, I would change the white highlight to 35 to 45, the white under light color to 25, and the white under dark color to 25. So you're almost cutting them in half, and this needs to happen because our white ink is so much more opaque that you need less of it to do the same job. So you'll have to go through, change these values in your setups, and after you change all of those, you are ready to start printing. We would encourage you to print a few of your commonly run files. If you have any issues with the color resolution, which almost everybody does, the first thing that they come back and say is that the color looks so much brighter. It's not that the KK inks are expanding the CMYK color gamut, it's that the white base that goes underneath is so much nicer that your CMYK output is just that much more vibrant. Okay, replacing the lookup table inside of the Quick P production software. Come up to the top here and you can see we are inside of the D drive, Quick P production, common folder, media DB folder. I already put or copied our Hydra /KK ink 500 by 600 profile in here. This particular company utilizes the 6x6 for the color and 5x5 for the white. So this is the correct profile. Basically what you want to do is take our lookup table and name it the same as the existing lookup table. So I always copy their lookup table and then just paste it like in the documents folder, somewhere that you can get to it if you need it. And then we delete this particular lookup table and rename ours exactly the same. Easiest way to do that is go in and copy the name from the existing lookup table, Okay, then we can delete it. Okay, and then we take the Hydra ink lookup table, paste that name in there. Now you're guaranteed that it's named correctly when you go in to open up your, it's already open. You open up your media database, your D 6x6 and W 5x5. Those values have already been replaced with everything that's inside of our lookup table. So all of the values inside here are now calibrated or linearized to work with our ink. That's the easiest way to get this done. If you have any questions, you can definitely give us a call or an email and we can walk you through it.